thank you for joining us today. I'm excited. You're so unique what you're doing, and I wanted for you to share a little bit about it. You have both an in-person studio and you've launched this amazing online training program. I don't know how you do everything, first of all, just time-wise.
We have a team with us, which helps for sure.
Yes,
Teamwork makes it happen.
And you have kids as well. So I'm so impressed with everything you're doing.
Thank you.
So
well, yes,
with us.
So YogaRenew, I'm the co-yoga director of YogaRenew. My business partner and dear friend Patrick is the other co-yoga director, but we actually started YogaRenew started as a digital platform first, so running yoga teacher trainings online, and we serve thousands of students internationally through our online training programs. Initially, it was just like basic 200-hour, 300-hour, like get certified. And then over these last years, as we've grown and expanded, we have a full library of different trainings that people can do for continuing education as well. So like yin yoga, restorative, prenatal, and we're still continuing to and build out more and more of those programs. And then we also, our headquarters are in Hoboken, New Jersey, so just across the river from New York. And we had been using this as our filming studio to get everything with our team throughout the pandemic. Like, we weren't open to the public.
Right.
And now that it seems, fingers crossed, right, that we're like in a good mix, we made it through a winter and on to the new normal. We opened up in January to have public classes at like our headquarters in a more like studio type setting as well. So, which is really exciting. And yes, and I have a almost 4-month-old at home. So the studio opened while I was on maternity leave. Has been a little crazy over here, and a almost 3-year-old. So lots of stuff happening. That's where the yoga comes in though, right?
And it's so amazing that there's so many things and they're all so necessary, and they all build on each other, right?
Yeah,
so you have the in-person studio to give that experience, which people still love. And then you have this online option, which, I think the pandemic, one of the things that taught us was we can do yoga at home. Yes, it's okay. Yep. We can do it anywhere in the world. And I love that you have these offerings. And I was reading on your website, one of the reasons also that sort of motivated you guys was cost. It is, I understand, as a small business, I get it. It's expensive to do things. You want to pay your teachers well. You want everyone to make a decent wage, but also for the people taking the actual trainings, you want it to be cost effective for them as well.
Yeah. Yep. So Patrick and I, prior, like years ago, we actually had, before we did all the online stuff, we had another studio in Hoboken that was just more of your traditional like yoga studio setting, and we charged a lot more for our trainings, kind of that going rate for this area. And I've been there and understand, like, literally you have, like you said, like, I'm so passionate about being able to pay yoga teachers. I think like a livable wage is so important. It's a problem, truthfully, I think, in this industry in general. And so there's a cost associated with that in-person piece of it. However, the cost is necessary from the business side, but I think prohibitive for so many people who just don't have the budget to spend $3,000 on a yoga training. And so in doing the online, because of the reach and because we're able to pre-record some lessons and do some live stuff on Zoom, it gives us the ability to bring that cost down tremendously and offer it for just that couple $100 range. And I think what we're passionate about is being able to serve all audiences. So being able to give an affordable option that, and part of its price, right? Like literally an affordability there, but also the flexibility for some people. If you're working a couple of different jobs, or you are a mom who has kids at home and there's no way that you could potentially leave all that in-person time in a studio. This gives people the flexibility to do it at their own schedule, to still join Zooms live, to have that personalized interaction with our teaching team, to make it more affordable. And then if you're still looking for an in-person traditional experience, we offer that at the studio location as well for that higher price point. But I think just the accessibility of all of that was something that, and as I became a mom, like, I think I became just really passionate about, I think being able to offer those, to make yoga more available to everybody is something that we really pride ourselves on and are constantly trying to be able to do. So Yeah.
And I love that. And I correct me if I'm wrong, on your website it said there is no time limit at all. So you sign
Correct.
up, and if you're like, you know, something happens in life and you're like, I can't do it now. Life happens.
Yep.
The pandemic taught us that as well. Life happens. And sometimes things need to go on hold for 1, 2, 3 years, you know? And so while there's so many benefits to all the different kinds of trainings, like I did an in-person training, I had a unique situation. I was freelancing at the time, and I had the luxury to take a month off. I don't have that luxury anymore now as an adult, but back then I could. But it's great to have this option for people to be like, you know what, I can't do it all the time. I can do 20 minutes now, you know, 3 hours later. And I agree with you. Accessibility is key to a lot of things and to the success of a lot of things.
Yeah, and I think you brought up something like, so with our courses, you have lifetime access. So there's online programs, right, where you're going through the experience live, almost like you would in a 200-hour in-person. It's just that it's all done digitally, like through Zoom calls. And I think those are awesome options too, to be able to study with like people all over the world. We took that middle ground route where the core content, like the like learning the alignment of the poses, let's say, or some of the background in history and philosophy, are self-paced videos that you can watch, learn the lessons. But then we also have weekly live Zoom calls that people are free to join at any time to be able to talk to the teachers about the subjects. And I think we have some people who are like, I'm on sabbatical for a month, like I'm gonna like gear up and do it 8 hours a day and finish this training in 2 months. And then we have people like you mentioned who are like, I have an hour a week and I'm okay with it taking 2 years. Like I just want to study and learn. And the nice thing too is that we have people who've gone through the training 6 months ago. They graduate, they get their certificate, they start teaching, and they're like, I actually forget about like I had this thing happen in class. But with the lifetime access, they can like jump back in the course, rewatch videos. And I don't know about you, but I know for me, like I feel like there was stuff I learned in my 200 hour that didn't make sense until halfway through my 300 hour, because I was like, oh, that's what that thing was. Like now that I have a little more experience, like I understand what that means. And I think that lifetime access component too is something that we wanted people to have, like this ever changing, ever growing resource, that as we continue to learn as teachers, we can update the program and have our students continue to learn too, you know, and share that love all around.
How did you decide which teachers to work with? I mean, now that you're online, you have access to literally anyone in the world. How do you narrow it down? I mean, you have a really diverse roster on your website.
Yeah.
How?
So we are super lucky living in, Patrick and I have lived and taught, and we live in Hoboken. He also taught in New York City. He studied at the Iyengar Institute in New York prior, well, now they're reopened, but pre-pandemic. And so we are very fortunate, I think, living in the area we do, to have been able to have contact with a lot of fantastic teachers, some of whom taught for us at our former studios that like teach for us now. And then also throughout the pandemic, truthfully, like that digital component, we've been able to just connect with other teachers who are experts in what they do. And the wonderful thing is, because a lot of them at that time that people were quarantined, like they were able to teach from a place that worked for them and be able to like get online and teach inside of our trainings. And so we've been able to pull some of our network of teachers that we've had for years that we've taught with, also tap into new teachers that we've connected to, and some of the teachers that we knew from the New York area that moved away. Like we have a teacher that Patrick taught with years ago in New York. She moved to Hawaii, and we're like, great, she's a fantastic teacher, and we're like, we can have you come teach for us online now, because it doesn't matter like that. And she's like, oh my gosh, I still get to like be part of everything that I had done. And so that it's really fun to be able to bring together a more diverse group of people. And I think being able to really, like, I know that I'm not an expert in everything related to yoga, right? But so for us, it's more important about finding the people who are. Like, I'm not an expert in anatomy, but Joe Miller, who teaches anatomy for us, has like a degree in physiology and anatomy. So we can have him be able to show up and do that, which is an exciting thing to be able to offer our students.
I love that component of it too. It's the same with the magazine. You can learn all about these things that you don't know, and you were maybe a little bit curious about it, and then you have access to like experts in the field. And how fortunate is it to have that access and then share it with everyone else too. And it's great too for the teachers too, because they can have a better work-life balance. Your teacher can live in Hawaii where she's comfortable and happy, you know, like let's be happy. That'd be great.
Yes.
Happy
Number
teachers
one
are good.
thing, I think. like none of us do this, right? I always, anytime I'm talking, I'm like, we do this because we love it. Like yoga, like you do it and you get into this because you're passionate about it. And I think the challenge often that is faced is that it doesn't make it easy to make a living doing it because of the way the industry is set up. And I think the happiness piece comes first. And sometimes it's easy for people to lose sight of that in like the hustle and bustle of trying to make it work. And I think, like you just said, like being able to continue learning about things that are like, and have the space to still be students of yoga too is so important. And I think that comes from making choices that work for life first, and then figuring out how to make this whole, you know, job thing like fit in there, which is important.
I say this all the time. I love connecting with studio owners and teachers, because anyone that works in wellness, they do it because they love it. No one ever gets into this and says, I want to be famous and rich and all these things. I mean, because that's very rare, as we know.
Right.
You know, it is a business at the end of the day. Like it is wellness, and it is, but to keep it alive, the business component has to be a part of it. How do you, I mean, you said you have a team. I mean, even launching what you did with that online, that's a massive undertaking. I mean, what was the first step in that? Were you just like, oh my God?
So I'm lucky, in a previous lifetime, it feels like now, I actually, before I started teaching yoga, I was a high school teacher. And so putting curriculum together and courses and things like that it's something I just love and I'm interested in. I think like the teaching component of it. So I also am like the teacher. I like the business end of things. So like for years at the studio, I used to say, like, teachers would be like, how did you figure out how to do some of the marketing stuff? And I was like, because while everybody else was listening to like music for their playlist, I was like, let me listen to a marketing podcast because I like that component of it. But I think it's like, it takes time, right, to learn all of those pieces. And I think also the willingness to just try and do and know that we're not going to do it perfectly is that first step. And so we researched, you know, online platforms that could host courses. So Teachable is the one that we work with, and they've been fantastic, and are great partners for us. And then it was just like outlining the program and saying, okay, how can we take what we do in our in-person experience and be able to translate that online in like a pre-recorded situation. I'm lucky from having that teacher background that like that's something I could figure out. But then it was just like, we've also like made mistakes along the way, and like certain lessons people are still confused, and we're like, that definitely didn't make sense, let's like fix it and redo it. And I think that's the other piece, is there's this expectation, I think falsely, that people are like, if I'm going to put something online and sell it, like it has to be 100% perfect. And I think for us, it's like, it just has to be 100% human, right? We're still yoga teachers, and it's like actually physical, real people in there doing it. And we say to our students all the time when they email, I'm like, you're right, that was like a typo, let's fix it. And we fix it and keep going. And I think that's that step of it, is being able to show up imperfectly and to just want to be able to share and teach. And as you said, to also acknowledge that there is a business element of it, and to take that part seriously as well, and to realize that in any business, customer service is key, and our customers are our students. And so how can we, like, I spend a lot of time learning about business, not just yoga, like running an online business as well, and trying to do that in a way that is service-based to like help give our students the best experience that we can. But it's really, I mean, I like both elements of it, and it's a lot of work, but we also, I think, as we have continued to grow, to be able to have a team who are also passionate about the mission behind it and lean into them and support it is key. Like the fact that I was able to actually go on maternity leave and be with my baby and know that our team was like here to handle things is just such a gift. And we're super lucky and grateful to have people that are as passionate about it as we are.
How has I mean, it's been a lot of life changes and a lot of business changes. How has or has it even changed your personal practice in the last year? Have there been changes?
Very much so. So I very much so. I like was always a vinyasa, like very athletic teacher, and like back up. I'm not an athlete. I mean, the style of yoga, I like a flowy class paired with like the yin days as well. I would say like throughout all of the changes in terms of shifting online and the pandemic stuff, leaning into I found that like the meditation component of my practice became absolutely pivotal for me. Like the days where I was like, I just don't have it in me physically to do some stuff, but like to sit and get quiet and listen to like, okay, intuitively what's next was really key. And then for me, actually, in both of my pregnancies, I unfortunately am the yoga teacher that develops severe pelvic pain, where the only preventative thing to try to stop it is to not stand on one foot. I'm like, okay, good for most people, not great for a yoga teacher.
Right. Yeah.
And to like not move that much. So yoga for me during pregnancy is actually like not a great thing, because it's the stretching makes it worse.
Yeah.
Which is really hard. So the physical practice of that for me took a very big kind of disappeared, and it was a lot more into the spiritual and meditation practice. I'm now very grateful to be able to like get back into it.
Right.
But that mentally was very challenging, because that's my stress relief. Like turning to this practice and the physical component is so key. But I think years of showing up and understanding that we do that physical practice to be able to hit all of like that spiritual mental wellness side, I've leaned into that a lot. And so I have a long way to go for sure to rebuild that strength that got lost from taking the break physically. But I think that's the gift of yoga, is it's not just a physical practice. So many of us come into it that way, I think, like are introduced to the physicality, but it also has shown up for me in kind of holding me through some of that challenge on the spiritual side, which I'm so grateful for.
And it's something I do hear repeatedly. I would say 98.9% of the people do come in for a physical doorway, which is great. I always say, as long as you get in, great. Like, just get in.
Who cares how you got here?
Yeah, just come in. And I think it's the same with many practitioners. I mean, at least here in the US, most likely, we start physical and then we go, oh, wow, there's all these other things. And I always feel like, especially as I get older, it's actually harder to control my mind than my body. I mean, it really is one of the most, and when we can have that calm and that peace and that centeredness in our minds and our body, that's amazing.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And I think it's like, I love what you said too about just kind of like, no matter how you get here, you get here. And I think that that's true. And obviously with everything you do with the magazine too, I'm sure it's like when people are first reading stuff, they might be coming to like read about the physical pose stuff, but then it's like, oh wait, there's all these other things that we can bring awareness to. And I think that's the beauty of this, is that like it always, like yoga always continues to provide space for us to learn. And it shows up things, like I said, like that I heard years ago didn't apply to me before I became a mom. And now all of a sudden, like I have 2 kids and I'm like, oh my God, this makes so much more sense. Like I need this element of it. And then old ones that I used to love don't serve me anymore. And it's like, as we change, our perception of the practice changes too. And I think that's a key thing as well.
It's almost like in the movies, it's like the Easter eggs. It's like all of a sudden you're like, oh, there it is. That's the thing that I needed at this point.
It's like the Marvel universe kind of thing. It's like, what happened in the first Iron Man shows up all of a sudden in the Avengers movies.
I actually just watched all of them in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, that's so much fun. I'm a big Marvel fan. So
yes, I love
that.
They're great. They're so much, and you get really sucked into them.
Oh, for sure.
But I will say this, just to go back to the teacher trainings, because I think for me personally, and tying it to the magazine as well, I always also like to share with people, when you do a yoga teacher training, you don't necessarily or aren't necessarily going to become a teacher. Like that is one thing that I always, and the fact that you have so many options on the website as well. Like I took a yoga teacher training and I do a magazine. You can find different paths, and it's really about learning about yourself, right? Hopefully. I mean, how would you describe to someone that's like, you know what, I'm not sure, I don't know, maybe I'm not a yoga teacher. Like what would you say to that person?
So I love that you brought that up. Legitimately, I don't know the exact statistic, but like I would say like definitely more than half of the people that sign up for a yoga training are not like, I want to make teaching yoga my full-time thing, right? Like sometimes it's therapists or doctors who are like, I want to just be able to offer some knowledge outside of my medical practice. Or it's like you said, someone in editorial or magazine stuff who like has a passion for yoga and wants to lean more into that wellness side, or a health coach, or just someone who's like, I don't know if I ever want to use this for my career, but I just want to personally better myself to show up for my family and for my friends, from a more grounded place. And you never have to teach. That's the thing about doing a yoga training. Like the depth of this practice and the things that you can learn in a training are just so much greater than what can be offered in a typical 1 hour class, right? Like we are all busy and lead busy lives. And I know for me, I'm lucky right now if I can like 3 times a week get on my yoga mat for an hour. And I think there's just so much depth to what is offered and so many things that like I didn't know before doing my 200 hour, then my 300, and then all of the continuing ed that still is there to unfold. And it's such a personal, transformative journey that like you don't have to know where that journey ends when you decide to initially take it. And that's, I think, like if you had told me years ago when I signed up for my 200-hour training back when I was a high school teacher that we would be talking on Instagram Live about running a digital business, like I would have been like, you're after a global pandemic, I was like, you're totally insane. You know, like certainly didn't sign up and thinking that this is where I was going to end up either. But I think what it allows for you to do is just to like take the step to bettering yourself and then just getting quiet and learning how to listen to feel what's right for you. And like you said earlier, it's like that happiness piece comes first. And so if you can do this training and get to know yourself a little better and figure out what makes you happy, I think then the possibilities are endless for what happens next.
Kate, thank you so much for everything today. I mean, it's been amazing. It's an amazing journey. And I feel
for
like
having me.
When we
thank
talk
you for all you do as well.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's fantastic.
I'm so excited to hear how it's gone from high school teacher, studio owner, online global thing. Like what's next year? Like okay, so if there is anything else that's sort of on the horizon that you're excited about, if there is, do you want to share it with us or do you do retreats or anything like that?
So we've been looking into retreats. I have previously done retreats. I took personally a little pause for a second when my kids were so young, but certainly our team, and that's something that we are looking to do. We are also working more on, so we have like our digital online trainings. We open the in-studio. We have a library of online classes, kind of that online, more like streaming studio experience, like our online classes we have. We're working to continue to build that and lean more into making that happen for people so that it's not just the training component, but they can just like practice and take classes with us. We have that available and we're going to continue to work on building that. I think that's like the next real big focus for us for sure this year. And to just continue to like offer and better our programs, our continuing ed, listening to our students to get those programs more refined so that we continue to help yoga teachers figure out exactly like what they need. We're always saying like we have a prenatal one that is going to hopefully be Yoga Alliance certified coming out, like the full 80-hour training, and just continuing to build those programs out.
Amazing. Kate, YogaRenew, if anyone is yoga curious about a teaching or classes, check out their website. And if you need that in-person experience, you can check out their studio in person. Do you have 2 locations or 1 now?
We have one location.
Okay.
It's in Hoboken, New Jersey. It's right across the public transit station. So a hop, skip from pretty much anywhere in the New York City area and, North Jersey area as well. And
Hoboken is like the cutest little city too. Like I love Hoboken.
It's like my little hometown. I swear when I moved here, I was like, I told my husband, I was like, you get 1 year. I had lived in Manhattan. I was like over the city thing. I was like, we'll do it for a year. That was 11 years ago. And here so we're not going anywhere. We're moving our family soon. Like we're staying here for the long haul. We love it.
Thank you. Kate, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was so lovely to chat with you. And happy equinox. Right?
Happy equinox.
Yeah. It's spring finally.
Finally.
Thank you again for having me. It's so lovely to talk to you. Talk to you soon.